Hi, this is a live sample of the project that I worked on about a year ago for a course that's also based on the work that I do. And it's an example database for a mass digitization project that I'm involved with at work. And what you see in front of you is an instance of MySQL Workbench. So I'm working with a relational database here. However, the ideas that I'm working with could be extended to other types of information architecture, and it's certainly not limited to relational database models. But that's what I was doing for the class, so that's what you see in front of you. And if you're familiar with relational databases, you'll see here on the left I have a bunch of different tables within the database. And the primary one I'm working with, I already had it up, are items. Each item represents something that we're digitizing in our library, although this is just sample data. And they have a bunch of different attributes that are represented also within this table. And the key innovation here is that I'm including physical states and digital states as part of the item attributes, as types of attributes. And they are also represented in tables here in this model. So if we look at the physical states, and again, this is just really a demonstration, the different states represent things that happen to physical material within the workflow of our library. For example, a book might be selected and then something somewhat gets it off of a shelf and it's checked out, things are returned to the shelves, etc. And then we have digital states for materials, which is somewhat similar. For example, something is selected to be digitized, it is digitized, different types of file formats are created, and so on. I think there could be other states as well that I didn't model. For example, metadata states would make a lot of sense as metadata is manipulated for items throughout a workflow. Also, there might be long-term digital preservation steps and things like that. What's cool about this model is that we can come up with digitization processes, and these are examples. That's actually not it. Process types are what I was really looking for. We can come up with process types that are human understandable, things that are done to items that modify the physical and digital states of items, and some of them modify both of those states at the same time. So for example, here in this row, if something is checked out, that item has a new physical state corresponding to what happened to it. But if something is scanned, it has a new digital state. So the one I clicked on before is digitization processes, and that's a way to do things to items. Certain processes are done, and then when they are done, the new states come into effect on the items. But anyway, to make this work, I'm going to go back to the items here and add some sample data to this database, which I already have some samples of to copy and paste. So hold on 1 second, I'm just copying and pasting some sample data. So if I create a new item here and run this, I've added a new item to the item database. This is sample item 1, and so on. And I'd actually kind of like to do it again, only with a different one. So if I do sample item, let's do 2. I can't even type. Sample item 2. And run this one as well. We're adding more sample data. Okay. And to isolate the data that we're working with, I'm just going to show off these sample items with another SQL query like this. And if I run this one, what we have here, we're looking at those 2 sample items. I've narrowed down my search just to the sample items and their physical state and their digital state. So everything is working properly, and we have the items as they were inserted into the item row. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is enable the infrastructure to add new digitization processes. And these processes are real things that happen. For example, a book is scanned, somebody does some sort of image processing on digital files. We'll be adding things to the list of digital processes that take place, and when those happen, we want to trigger state changes for the items. So these items, physical state and or digital state, will shift based on the processes that take place. This isn't completely set up yet, so what I want to do is look at the digital processes and add a trigger after new rows are inserted to this. And I'm going to do that by just, again, pasting in something that I think is working. So add in some SQL like this, and it may not be visible on this recording screen, but if I apply it, and if it's all correct, this is done, and we've added a trigger, so that adding a new row here should work some magic. And let's actually do it. So here are current or past digitization processes. But if we want to add a new one, again, representing something that actually happens in the real world, what I will do is add to this table another row, and we want to do one of these sample items. So I'm going to copy this field name and put it over here as an item. And we're going to be pretending like we've done process type 2. And process type 2 is over here from the process table. Process type 2 is like printing out a pool slip. Okay. So if we add this to the table, and if it works correctly, we've now theoretically printed out a pool slip and updated some things about sample item 1. We come over here to the item tables, and if we refresh these, the physical state has changed from 1 to 2. So this is how the system would work. And you know, if we do something to sample item 2, and copy this name over here, do something to it, and I don't remember exactly what all these different things do, but say we do process type 5, and run that, and refresh over here. Item 2 currently has 1 and 0, but hey, we just did something that changed the digital state. So the idea here is that we're tracking everything we do and tracking particular types of states for different items. And in the real world, we're not doing this exact model for our workflow management, but this influenced what we're doing, and I really hope to revisit this general concept in the future to do something pretty cool tracking different data over time. So that's it. Thanks.